So what tonight we have a Pacific theme. So we're beginning with Timur, who has presented in the past. And Timur, by the way, for those of you that don't know, Timur, besides being a good friend of mine, Timur is the other half of the Marine Life of the North Atlantic app. He is the one who makes everything run properly and has most of the good ideas on how to set it up. So whether
That
you've actually know Timur, now you know what who he is.
that's why Android doesn't work, right?
Well, there's one slip. It's
Yes, it is.
not your fault though. Uh,
See, Luis knows it.
then we go from Timur will be talking about British Columbia. And then further down the coast, way down till we get to Southern Australia, Amy and Jason are going to do a presentation on the marine life of this region. So, Timur, if we could begin with you, you can talk about this fabulous area to dive.
Sure. Do I share screen, Andy? Share screen.
Yes.
Okay, I clicked and share. Okay, well,
Good, good.
so is it visible?
It is.
Okay. So to make this presentation at the beginning, to explain how we decided to go to Vancouver Island, we dove with Wayne in Nova Scotia. And one of the evenings when we share about what we saw on the water, we just start talking about where we dove before. And he happened to live, he used to live in Vancouver area. And when I heard it, of course, my second sentence from my mouth was, can you take us to scuba dive there? And he said, well, that's something that he would love to do as well. And one thing led to another. Lana, my wife, Yulia, myself, and Wayne, we all went to Vancouver. So he organized the whole trip, and it was really nice to dive with a person who knows all local, not only dive sites, but also the shop. He arranged all the dive equipment. It was easy to go from one place to another, especially knowing that the guy knows all the dive site. So if you decide ever to go to Vancouver Island, I would highly suggest, of course, to contact somebody who knows the stuff, especially if you want to dive as much as possible off the shore. So Wayne would be the guy. By the way, a couple of weeks ago, he just came back from Vancouver Island again. He dove in the fall, and he said it's absolutely different, much more big animals. Like he saw orcas. They saw 13 giant Pacific octopuses. We saw only one, and it was hidden. So let me show you. I decided to name this presentation Exploring the Land of Giants because when we discussed with Wayne, when we were very close to leave the house and go to Vancouver Island, we talked about what kind of equipment we should take with us. And before, I saw plenty of nudibranchs that were photographed in Vancouver. So he said, you know what, let's take the macro lenses. Okay, so that's all we took, macro lenses, especially flying to that specific location is a little bit tricky because there's the prop airplane that goes from the mainland to the island, and they're very strict with the weights. So I'm kind of was happy in the beginning that I don't have to take my wide angle lens, wide angle port, and I was wrong. And the wane was wrong as well. We saw so many big, I would say a giant marine life that I was feeling unhappy that I didn't take my wide angle lens. Okay, so this is my second slide. Can you see it? Probably this way. That's better, right?
Sure, it is.
Yeah. So this is my first. So this is equipment we use. My main camera was Canon 5D SR. That's the only lens I took with me, macro 100 millimeters, and as a backup. Thank you very much to Andrew, who told me that that small camera is always, because once I drowned my main camera and people had to ship me to um, Ireland, my the second camera, because the first one was flooded. So that was one my main camera, and actually it was nice that I took it because some wide angle stuff I actually used that camera. Okay, this is the Port Hardy. This is a little map showing you we arrived to Comox. That's the airport, and we dove. I believe 5 or 6 places in that region. UB Diving, that's the name of a dive shop. They were very nice to us. We asked for the steel tanks, and they were very kind actually to provide steel tanks. I put my weights on me. I calculated how much weight I need because I dive in a dry suit with all my undergarment here, and I went down like a rock because we didn't realize they gave us 130 steel tanks, not 120s, not 100, 130s. Poor Lana and my wife, after the first 2 dives, they were rubbing shoulders, said, we cannot. My wife actually was unable to dive for a couple of days because of her back. So this is the Comox airport. On the bottom, I just put, I'm sorry, guys, 1 second. Let me call you back. Okay. So on the bottom, you'll see this pop-ups. It will show what camera I use to take pictures. So this is the first time as we arrive, I realized that we for a treat because this is the visibility. This is the shot taken from the pier. We just stopped by at the pier, and this is the first thing we saw. This is Madrona Point, at the first place where we were diving. Basically, most of them, all the dive sites were very rocky, slippery. So with heavy equipment, we had to be very careful to walk. But in general, it was a great weather, and we enjoyed every single dive. So this, okay, here on the right-hand side, left-hand side, and on the bottom, that all the settings I use and the camera I use. And on the top should be the name. So this is the scening stand. This is the first marine animal that I found on the water. And no, that was, sorry, this was a second dive. But this was really nice and a great animal to take a picture of because it has a nice, colorful, is it called mental, Indy? The body, the foot, right?
It's, yeah.
The foot. Yeah. And that was about 2 inches, 2.5. So my macro lens worked perfectly. No complaining. So this is a copper rockfish. And as you see, it is about, I have a notes here. This is about 7 and 8 inches long. And behind it, it's very close to the stock, what do you call this anemone? Frilled anemone. So that's how huge and big an anemone were. Just wanted to show you this shot is taken with the 100 millimeter, all the shots basically took with the 100 mm lens, and I realized that was a first or a second dive that I should have taken my wide angle. This is the only giant Pacific octopus that we were able to find. It's a wreck, a small boat, and Wayne found it somewhere. We were thinking, we played a game. Wayne asked, "How many octopuses do you think we'll find?" That was before the first dive. He said probably 20. Lana, I don't remember. She maybe said 15. My wife said 10. I said 12. We just saw one. That's it. So this is China Creek. It's this beautiful setting. It's easy to come to every place and dive. This one is red dendronotid, and this one is 11 inches long. This can grow to 11 inches long. This one was about 7, 8 inches. It was very difficult to take pictures. Thankfully, the visibility and clarity was nice, so you could push slightly back and take the whole animal instead of just shoot the muzzle. This one is a ground sculpin. We were very happy to find it. It's about 6 inches, maybe less. That is the model star. This specific was about 15 inches in width, in diameter. Very big star. This is a good presentation of thrill anemones, Plymouth anemones. It's the same thing, right, Andy? Plymouth and thrill. Yeah.
Yep, same species as ours. Yeah.
Yeah. So this taken with Olympus, because I realized after the second or the third dive, my wife wasn't able to go underwater because of those big, huge tanks. So I actually dove with 2 cameras, especially real understanding that's how big and huge they are. As I asked Lana to swim closer to the anemone. This is a beautiful, it's called gold Dirona. And those guys can grow up to 5 inches. That one I was able to take with a Canon. I think that was the first dive. When I was on my knees and my wife took these pictures, I didn't realize how big those nudibranchs, and I'm diving with a small 100 mm lens. But I was able to take this shot. After 5 days, we went to Port Hardy. That's how beautiful and surrounding. The nature is amazing. This is Port Hardy RV Resort and Log Cabin. This is where we stay. This is the cabin inside. And this is the first dive with UB diving. We dove off the boat. So for 3 days, we dove off the boat with UB diving. What they did, they moved. I think every Saturday and Sunday, or for a week, they serve divers in Port Hardy, and then or the husband and the wife stays in Comox. This is white line Dirona, and those guys can grow also. 1 second, and I'll tell you. I left to 7 inches. Those nudibranchs, Not those specific one, those were about 4 or 5 inches, but they can grow really big. Now, this orange-pilled nudibranch was about 11 inches long. And Andy, I call you because I see you on the screen. I have to tell you, I did not know where to move and how to frame the shot to put the whole animal in the frame. This one, it's called sea lemon. This one was about 7 inches. Do you know, guys, what it is? Andrea, I'm sure she knows for sure. This is a northern abalone, and if you go, this is about 45, 50 feet deep, but those shells you can find practically everywhere. And the largest one was about 7, 8 inches. Beautiful shells. Giant spine star, 24 inches in diameter. This is also beautiful sea clown. It was about 7, 8 inches long. That's a flesh of sea pan. If you look at the bottom sea pan where the sand meets the foot, see this little tiny nudibranchs? So you can imagine, because how big this thing was. This is 2 nudies that were crawling on the bottom of it. And those are, I believe this is apolescent, yeah, apolescent nudibranch. The regular size usually about 2.5 inches. That's the boat we dove. If you see in the back side, there is a lift, so you just stand on it. They'll lower you down. They lift you up. That's the trees. We went to the local park, a Cape Scott Provincial Park. Oh, I don't have to explain. Oh, that was a funny. That was the last dive. No, that was we walked in the park, and I asked Wayne. Said, Wayne, what about the bears? We didn't see one bear yet, and he was driving car. He said, okay, let's see what I can do. And my camera was on my lap. It was a long road. I didn't expect any bears. All of a sudden, a minute later, one bear crossed the road. And of course, it was so quickly, I didn't have a chance to raise my camera and take a shot. I said, Wayne, can you do something, please? We need to take a picture. So we were driving. He says, okay, see what we can do. 2 minutes later was another bear, but I already was ready. I took the shot. That's the one. Yeah. And later it was the third one. You actually see in the span of 10, 15 minutes, 3 bears. So this is me, my wife, Lana, Wayne. And we went to visit Mount Washington. As you see, it's nice and warm. And Indy, do I have another 5 minutes?
Yeah.
Okay, I want to show you something. If you guys, because when I was building this presentation, I used my phone. I just wanted to show you because I did not know what it's called, this specific animal. So I used the Google Chrome. You see this little depiction of a camera? I'm sure some of you are familiar with this, but if you just happen not know how to use it, You just point on your computer, you take a picture, and it's done. And it's very complicated animal to find. And that's how I was naming it. So I actually found every single animal that I was looking for, the names.
Well, it's pretty good.
Yeah. I thought it would be useful for anybody who wants to just find the names and animals so quick and easy.
Andy, you remember we were doing that to figure out some of the Philippines nitterbranchs?
Yeah.
What's that?
Yeah, it's quite useful.
I didn't get it. Was a question or a comment? I didn't get it.
That was a comment
Okay, yeah.
about using the Google Lens.
Yes, but usually they use Google. People use Google Lens to search for shoes and some other stuff. But I try to, and some very complicated animals, especially shrimps, with the background, busy background, and it still gets the result done.
Well, I use it walking in the woods for plants and flowers. That it's
The flowers, yes, yeah.
Anyway, great. That was great presentation.
Thank you
and
very much.
And I second Timur and say that, you know, that area of the world, I mean, in some respects, it's similar to what we have in the Northeast, but it's on times 10. I mean, there's just the visibility is better. They have many of the same species, but they're just they have
We,
so
we
many
didn't
more.
see, yeah, we didn't see hooded nudibranch
Uh-huh.
because we were told that when we arrived, it was not a season. But this time around, when the Wayne went, he came back a couple of weeks ago, he said they were everywhere. Plus orcas, plus the whales, and we saw dolphins during and otters. Is that what it's called? They say?
Orcas?
No, otters, the one that swim on the bags.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
There's lots of otters there because they go after the urchins
Yeah, and the abalones too.
and the abalones. Yes.
Yeah, abalone. Yeah, the abalone is when you can actually see. I was at the surface when we dove, forgot the name, and I look name of the dive site, and I look down and I see the shells. So I went down to take a picture, and I look, it was 80 feet. It was clearly visible. I know it's a reflective shell, but it still was really, really nice to, the visibility was phenomenal.
Yeah.
And Wayne said that's even better this time around.
British Columbia is just awesome. I've been there twice diving. And it's still to this day my favorite cold water diving spot in the whole world, with Eastport maybe a third best.
Canada
Mhm.
is my favorite place. To people who know me, I always said that if I have a chance, I'd rather go to Canada than any place else. But when I went to Vancouver, it's a long trip and very complicated, especially with those little tiny airplanes and restricted amount of equipment you can take with you. It's worth it. And if you ever decide to go there, we should take at least 10 days to be there. At least. It's worth it. There's a book, Wayne has 155 dive sites around there.
Yeah, a lot of great diving there. A lot of great diving. Well, now we're going to go further south and a little bit warmer. So if Jason and Amy, if you can take us to Southern Australia,
Awesome.
be
Jason is
be
going to
wonderful.
be sharing, so I don't know if you have to give him permission.
Yeah, I just sent a request.
So I'll let everybody know I have a hard stop at a 7:45, but I think Jason and I should be done. I have to go to work after this, and I'll be lecturing on a completely different topic right after this. So still animal related because I work in vet med, but not ocean related. So, but Jason will take it from here if I have to leave a little bit early.
All right, so then I'll just turn it right over to you.
And Jason, did you see the permission for the sound in the video?
I did it and got the sound. It wouldn't let me click optimize
Okay. Let's see
video.
if-
So
Okay.
I guess we'll see what happens.
Okay.
All
If
right.
it's, we'll try it again.
All right. This is in presentation mode.
Yes, it is. Looks good.
All right. I guess I'll let you start.
Okay, all right. So we decided to go diving in Southern Australia, and our focus is just like something a little bit different in Australia. I think we think of Australia as Great Barrier Reef, but it actually has a lot to offer. So we've specifically decided to do Southern Australia on a hunt for Wheaties and Leafies, because it's pretty much the only place in the world that you can find them. And our mission was just to find these two critters. And we got super lucky. So Jason, next slide. This is where we dove. We dove Kangaroo Island, Adelaide and Melbourne. We did drive between Adelaide and Melbourne. You have to take a ferry across to Kangaroo Island. That gets to be a little bit more complicated. And we'll talk about that when we get to the diving aspect. Next slide. Dry suit or not. All right. So we did a lot of research because we went in their beginning of their winter time. And of course the locals were like, oh my gosh, you need a dry suit. Oh my gosh, you're going to be frozen without one. And so we did bring dry suits. And then there was a heat wave. And it was 95 degrees in Adelaide, topside. So, whether or not you decide to bring a dry suit or not is completely up to you because, like most people, it's a weird weather patterns there as well. So we were melting, and at one point we rented wetsuits, and yeah, we'll talk about that when we get to that. So next slide. The type of diving and things to think about are, there are boat dives available, but we did not take any. We just wanted to stay and do shore diving. So we did shore diving, which is mostly muck and pier. Melbourne has the heaviest concentration of piers, and we'll talk about just some of them. We barely scratched the surface. Big into macro there. You can see some sharks and things like that, but truly it's just macro. And truly getting close and good buoyancy is key. And don't forget about a camera topside. Like Timur was discussing, like being angry with your choice of selection. We did just bring our Olympus TG6s, and I think 5. I have a 5. I think he has a 6. And we shot macro in there. But if you want to take a picture of the topside animals, you got to bring good telephoto lenses. So you're going to be carrying multiple stuff if you want good pictures topside as well. Next slide. All right, so we'll start with Kangaroo Island, and Jason, just chime in whenever you want to. There's not a lot of diving. There's really only 1 or 2 sites on this little island, but it is pretty secluded. It is a holiday island for the Australian group there. So this is where a lot of Australians go to just enjoy relaxation and enjoy beautiful beaches. We rented this little bungalow. It is to die for. It costs a small fortune, but it was just us. There was a hot tub, and we'd wake up and see kangaroos every morning. So it's really not a horrible way to wake up. Next slide, Jason.
Yep. So the next couple of pictures were taken basically from the deck right here.
So yeah, I mean, this is epic level wildlife. They don't want you to get close to them. So these are all shot on a very long telephoto lens because otherwise we would not be seeing too many of them. But this wasn't a bad thing to wake up to every morning. They are nocturnal. So you expect to see kangaroos out all the time, but you see them mostly at dusk and at dawn and in the middle of the night, which we will show you. So yeah, go ahead. This is a galah on the left-hand side. It's a parrot that they have, and this is actually a sunset taken from the window of our beautiful place. So, absolutely.
So we would have flocks of these galas going by our our cabin like just about every day. It was so wild to see them, you know, fly by us, and they would get really close to us. So it was a really neat experience to see them.
They were really cool. We did an evening tour of the wildlife because that's when most of the animals come out at night. You can see them sometimes during the day if you're lucky, but even the koalas tend to be a little bit more busy at night. All right, next slide.
So here you can see a koala, and someone's using a red light or whatever to illuminate it, but you can see the koala up in the tree there.
Yeah, it's definitely getting a little glitchy. Do you want to try to get out of it, Jason, and then try to see if you can optimize again? Andy, I don't know if there's a permission you have to give because it looks like the koala is having a seizure. So if you exit out of it, Jason, and then you
Exit
go,
out of what?
out of screen share, get out of screen share, and then I don't know, Andy, in the sharing whether or not you can also share a video. Try clicking share again and see whether or not it's optimization for the video because it makes it less glitchy.
Yeah, it still won't let me click that.
If not, things will just look a little jittery, but
It's either Ellen or Daryl. Do you have any thoughts on that?
No, the
Track
option
again.
should be there. I don't think there's a
Yeah.
separate permission.
Never run into that problem.
The
yeah.
option's there, I just can't click it.
Oh, that is really weird. I mean, I can try because I'm obviously still here. Let me try. Well, I don't have the newer version of this. So, all right. Well, if you can't click it, then don't worry about it. And we'll just, I mean, most of the videos you'll just know it's a little bit glitchy. But anyway, yeah. So red light, and hopefully the sound comes out okay on the next one. This is a mating call of a koala. It sounds like something horrible.
So does everyone hear that? That's a koala. that blew our minds.
That adorable little creature that you want to cuddle sounds like a demon in the middle of the night. So we had no idea, but it was a really fascinating tour. All right, next slide. This is us going back to our little bungalow. These are wallabies and they're everywhere. So as we were driving home, even our tour guide said, I hope people don't have very far to go because their eyes don't refract light. So you cannot see them until they are at the car. And we managed not to kill any. So we were very happy because we had a 45-minute drive back, which took almost an hour and a half because I was driving so slow. But they just dart out to your car, and there are just hundreds of them on this island. So you should be aware that if you go to Kangaroo Island and elect to go out at night, drive very slow. That's my recommendation. All right.
Did that come through clear, Amy, or is it still blurry? Because it's clear on my end.
It's jittery.
Okay.
So yeah, it's okay. I mean, you can see that there's little wallabies everywhere, but they're kind of like, they take a hop and then they stop. King's Coat dive. We dove on Kangaroo Island this one dive. There's the temperature there for you. So again, not necessarily dry suit weather. I would say that Jason probably would have been fine without a dry suit. I would have probably been a little cold, but I would have survived. Most of the shore diving is really shallow. So very similar to kind of our New England shallow dives that we do. Easy entry, easy exit. The other great thing about most of the piers are they are set up for scuba divers, which is really lovely. They tend to have big ramps to get you down and great ways to get you out. So that's pretty awesome. There's obviously a little blenny, a nudibranch, and a really cool green decorator crab on the right-hand side.
So typically I'm really into identifying these creatures, but Amy and I just bought a house right before we went on this trip, and a lot of our stuff is still packed away. So I couldn't find my Australia ID book, and it didn't dawn on me until like 15 minutes before this presentation to try the Google Lens trick. So I'll probably be Google Lensing a bunch of these to figure out what they are, you know, afterwards.
From there, we took a ferry back and we decided to do some diving at Adelaide. We actually got blown out of most of our dives. But again, our main mission was Wheaties and Leafies. And we were so lucky that the only dive we got into Adelaide, we actually managed to find the Wheaties. So second stop, again, record-setting heat wave at 95 degrees. We did dive dry and tried not to melt. A little bit deeper there, the Rapid Bay Jetty is where you find them. It's one of the only locations in the world you can find them. And our pro tip is to find Peter at the Sea Dragon Lodge. That man knows where they live. He knows exactly how many are at that site, and he will find them for you. There is no way in hell Jason and I would have found them without Peter. So admittedly, we're very, very fortunate to have met somebody who said, oh, you have to find Peter. And we found Peter, and Peter was great. So, all right, next slide.
So this is a picture of the jetty, and it looks like it would be, simple and easy to get in, which it is, but it's deceptively, strenuous. So this is, much longer than it looks like. Again, it was 95, 100 degrees. You're in a dry suit. You gear up basically on back here on shore, and then you walk out there. And most of the Aussies have some type of little wagon where they can, wheel out their BC and tank and stuff like that. We didn't, so we were obviously walking out there. We were exhausted by the time we got out here to the dive platform, and we're able to get in. But yeah, looks deceptively simple to get in there, but it was a little more strenuous than we were thinking.
Yeah, it's completely insane. Like, I thought we were New England fit divers, and those Aussies put us to shame. So just be aware that pier diving there means you're going to walk maybe a quarter mile with all your stuff on your back, and it's super fun. So Rapid Bay was big. It's more current than they will tell you about. Their version of current and our version of current are two totally different things. They say, oh, it's just a little current. And I was like, oh, this is not a little current. And they're like, yeah, that's just a little bit. So anything Australia says is a little bit, it probably is a lot of it. When they say it's just a little walk, it's like a mile. When they say it's a little current, it's actually a lot. So just be prepared for, again, it's hard to find Wheaties, but be prepared to walk a lot and also check that current. So next slide. This, some sea stars, Jason, obviously visibility is pretty good. They complain a lot if they only have 20-foot visibility. So to them, that's terrible. But obviously for us, we appreciate anything over 10 feet. Some pretty sea stars for sure. Next slide.
So when we dropped in, as Amy said, there was some current, and we started swimming into the current, and we were following this guy, Peter, and he just took off. And, we were like, hey, what's going on? We wanted to, stop and smell the roses and stuff like that. So we were struggling trying to keep up with him, but he was making a beeline to where he knew that where the Wheaties were, and that was going into the current. So we're kicking along, huffing and puffing, trying to keep up with him, and then he just stops. And I'm like, okay, what's going on? What are we looking at? And he's looking at me, and I'm looking at Amy. Next thing you know, I see Amy starting taking pictures of something, and I'm still looking at it. I'm like, what are we taking a picture of? And then eventually, oh, I thought a Wheatie was coming up, but it's not. So we'll just go to the Wheaties. the Wheatie, the Leafy materialized, and this is probably one of my favorite critters. It is just so ornate and alien looking, and beautiful. But you can see it is very camouflaged with kind of its background. And if you're not, kind of have it in your mind of what you're looking for, it just blends in. And they are almost impossible to get a decent picture of, because there's so many appendages going this way and that trying to get everything in focus and everything perfectly lit is almost impossible. But these are some of the better images that Amy and I got. I think we only found 2 or 3 individuals.
I think 3 total, but that's it.
Yeah, 3 total.
And they're not there year round. So you should definitely find out if you're going on a mission for Wheaties and Leafies, you need to figure out when they come. We came in October. As you can see, they have the males carry the eggs.
Yep, here's some eggs.
Yeah.
And then this one doesn't have any eggs, so I don't know if this is a male or a female, but the other pictures here are of the individual with eggs. So this was cool. This is what we went there to find. But we also found some other cool critters. And again, this is where I wish I knew what these were. This one here, obviously it looks like some type of dragonette, and this one looks like some type of filefish, but what exactly the species is, I don't know. So we were going to do another pier dive in Adelaide, and this was the day when I think it got over 100 degrees, and that's where we rented the wetsuit because we didn't want to suffer again in our dry suits. We go down to this pier. We see some ambulances there, and we thinking, okay, someone has some heat exhaustion or something's going on. We didn't think much of it. Got into the parking lot and we start gearing up. Got all geared up, and we're walking down to this pier, and this car just pulls up to us and goes, "What are you guys doing?" We're like, "We're gonna go diving." They're like, "Someone just got bit by a shark out there." And we were like, "What?" So, we got on the internet and looked, and I think it was the first shark attack at this site in Adelaide in like 50 years or something like that. So that was really freaky to have that happen while we were there. So obviously we didn't go diving that day. We just turned around and went back to the hotel or whatever. But that was a kind of a surreal experience to be that close to a shark attack.
And they call white sharks white pointers. So she's a well-known free diver and her boyfriend's a free diver. So they felt fairly confident. He saw it happen and he ID'd the shark. So we didn't get to go swimming or scuba diving that day. And then the rest of our dives were blown out due to weather. So we only got that one dive in, but we saw our leafies. So yeah. So anyway, super sad for her.
Oops.
Oh, no, you were right. Yeah.
Yeah, it jumped on my end.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So then we drove the Great Ocean Road, which is just a wonderful masterpiece. We drove it over 2 days. It's about 10 hours if you just drive straight. Jason's thumb of approval. And along the way, there's really no diving, but you can just see beautiful like wildlife topside. Next slide. So it's got these beautiful, they're called the 12 apostles that are very well photographed, and you can find koalas in trees, which are more difficult to find than you would imagine in trees. And again, they're busier at night. So bring out your telephoto lens and more of the galahs, which are awesome. Next, the 12 apostles. I mean, you probably have seen this photo a million times. So it's in a lot of books and stuff. Next one. Little cloudy day we had. And then we did Mornington Peninsula, where there are easily 15 something piers, and we only did a couple. So
So the Mornington Peninsula is right below Melbourne. You need to jump off, Amy.
Yeah, I gotta go work. I gotta go talk about feline anesthesia. Okay, bye guys.
All right. Bye.
Sorry.
So
Thank you, Amy. That was
Bye.
wonderful.
Jason he will be fantastic. Bye.
I'll finish the presentation. So we dove the Mornington Peninsula, which is just south of Melbourne. And like Amy said, there's a bunch of piers that go diving on here. They're on both sides of the peninsula, but we mostly dove the piers on kind of like this bay side. We only did one on this side, which was Flinders Pier. So the first pier we did was Port C. And here's a picture of it here. It's kind of like an L-shaped pier. And this might be my favorite dive site there, just because it was so easy to navigate, and there was so much beautiful like structures and some hard corals in here and stuff like that. But this is a very different picture of when we first arrived. When we first arrived here, there were kind of rollers coming in. You would see them breaking through the boards here. And we decided to go in anyway, because the guy at the dive shop told us if you can't find a weedy sea dragon there, you should just hang up your fins because you're not a good diver. So we were like, all right, we need to go see one. So we're in there, we're getting pushed around back and forth, and we're about to turn the dive without finding a weedy and give the guy our fins, because we have to turn in our fins. And then we found this guy. He's kind of floating out there, in the seaweed, and you can see that surge just going back and forth. But we were so excited just to find this weedy So we took this video because taking a still photo at this point was going to be impossible. And you can see him right here. He goes for a loop in the surge as well. So I'm hoping the video comes through on your end, but it was really fun to see him and kind of just watch him go for a tumble there in the surge. Again, very shallow, relatively warm water, easy entry for this dive site. And tons of seahorses. And now after seeing, leafy sea dragons, weedy sea dragons, seeing a seahorse is kind of like, whatever. But they were still, cool to see. And I forget the name of them here, but most of them had kind of like this extended belly. But you could obviously tell that some of them were pregnant because their bellies were even larger than kind of the normal ones. As I said, really cool looking colorful hard corals. And then there was a big school of puffers. I think I have a video coming up of that. But then this is on the second dive that we did at Port C. Lots and lots of just the weedies. And the weedies are a little easier to take a picture of just because they're kind of not as ornate as the leafies. And I feel like they're a little easier to find. They're not as well camouflaged as the leafies were. So we were able to kind of find these guys on our own. And here's a picture of me with a weedy in the foreground there. Then just more pictures of the weedies. We found dozens, maybe even bordering on maybe around 100 individuals of these guys. Not all at Port C. We mostly found them all at Flinders Pier, is where there were just tons of them, but there was just lots and lots of individuals. And I think I have some better pictures coming up, but you can see again here that a lot of them had eggs on them. So that was cool to see. This is just a video of that big school of puffers that I was talking about. Oops. And then I think this is of a huge ray. Yeah, there we saw several of these giant smooth rays. This one, probably the size of a small couch. So seeing that guy coming out of kind of the murky distance was a little intimidating. He saw us, and that's when he kind of made that U-turn there. But that was really cool. Trying to get out of this. All right, let me.
You should be able to optimize the video now.
Should be able to optimize the video now. Let me try. Yep, okay, it says optimize video. Share. All right, you guys seeing the presentation again?
Yep.
All right. Next up was Flinders Pier. And this is a picture of that pier. And again, it's a long walk out to the dive platform. But once you get out there, you just go down these steps, you go in the water, kick over here, and then we swam out kind of this way out to the end and then back. And this is what we dub kind of the home of the weedies, because there's just weedies everywhere. And here we hooked up with a local. His name was Merv, and he was just showing us around the pier. And even he said that on this dive, there's probably more weedies than he had ever seen. So we kind of just dropped down, and there was 4 or 5 of them. Here you can see 3 in the frame there. But everywhere you turn, there was just another weedy. And here you kind of can get an idea of their size by seeing it next to the divers there. What I really love about these guys is just watching how they move. They're just using this fin here and these fins up on their neck, and that's pretty much all they use to move around. And you can see this guy is chomping away on something there.
How long is that weedy right there?
Probably 6 or 7 inches. So they're a decent size. I maybe even bigger than that. Maybe even up to 10 inches. But yeah, they were just all over the place at this site. So we did this site the most just because they're, the Wheaties were everywhere. And every time we saw, 10, 15 individual Wheaties. I didn't see this one because my dry suit flooded during this dive and I needed to come out, but Merv and Amy found this ornate cowfish, which is just a really colorful and wild looking critter. So we, have cowfish in the Caribbean, but maybe honeycomb cowfish kind of gets this pretty, but this is just some wild looking colors there. This is just some still images of that cowfish and some Wheaties. These are some pictures of Amy with the Wheatie. So liked this one because we got 2 individuals in there with her, so that was really cool to kind of set that one up. And then this is probably the best shot that I got during the trip of a Wheatie. So they, like I said, they seem to be a little easier to take a photo of than the leafies because they seemed to stay more in plane, if that makes sense, than the leafies did. And again, you can see this one was carrying eggs, so that was cool. And then here's some more close-ups of kind of the eggs on this individual here. This is another critter that they found during the dive where my dry suit flood is called a walking anemone. So I guess hence its name, this thing can move around relatively easily. And I think that it mostly does that at night. And here it's kind of all curled up, so you can't really see it in all of its glory. This Blair wire, I think is how you say it, is another pier that we did. So again, it's another long walk, very shallow, relatively warm. We saw a bunch of the smooth rays there, but they weren't as big as the one that I showed you the video of, but they were pretty big. And here we found kind of lots of different types of nudibranchs. And again, a sea star with a small fish up there in it. We found these things, which I think they may be some type of sea hare or sea slug or something like that, but they were pretty big. They were probably about the size of a football. And there was quite a few of them. So that was just interesting to see. They were difficult to photograph because they're black and was difficult to kind of illuminate them and get any detail, but they were kind of really just neat to see them. And again, that stingray, sea star, some type of blenny. And then our last pier, or our last dive, was a night dive at Rye Pier. Again, another very long pier. It's a kind of the theme here, and we entered via the water. Usually, for most of the pier dives, you'd walk out along the pier and go in, into the water about halfway out. Whereas this one, we just went in in the water and walked out, and it was super shallow. So we were just walking and walking and walking with all our gear on. Then it got a little deeper and you're like, oh, some relief, let the water carry some weight. But then it got shallow again and we walked and walked and walked. So it felt like we almost walked to, the other side of that bay there over to Melbourne before we finally got some depth. But what this site is known for is what they call an octopus garden. They basically set up a bunch of PVC pipes, and that's become inhabited by a bunch of octopus. And you can just kind of go along to the next pipe and visit the resident octopus there. But along the way out there, we saw another boring old seahorse. We saw a lot of these, I believe they're called banjo stingrays. So they were cool to see. And then these sea stars, some nudibranchs, and a filefish. But the highlight was the octopus. So once we got out to the actual octopus garden, they were kind of everywhere. Every couple of feet there was another couple of octopus. And some of them were out and interacting. And I think this next video here is kind of wild. So I have never seen this. I think they're mating, but we kind of stayed with these guys for quite a while. Got to a point where I felt a little pervy, but it was just neat watching them, doing whatever they're doing here. The video's a little long, but I'm just going to let the whole thing go because I think it is just interesting to see the behavior. And at some point, they're gonna separate. Yep, there they go. So they're fairly large octopus, maybe about the size of a volleyball. So how do I make this go forward? There we go. So again, this is the pipe that a lot of the octopus are just living in. And again, they're everywhere. So that was just really cool to see. Some more of these seahorses, and I wish I could remember their names. And this was towards the end of the dive. I believe this is a velvet fish. So this is I did use Google Lens to ID this guy earlier. And the Merv, the guy who was diving with us, who's a local there, he was really excited to find this guy. So I guess they're a little bit of a rarity or a treat for them to find. So it was cool to find this one. Merv said he also found another one earlier in the dive, so he found two of them. To me, it looks like some type of maybe in the scorpion fish family or something like that. But lots of interesting colors going on there. That interesting pattern. So it was really cool to see and photograph this guy. And then we also, encountered a bobtailed squid towards the end of the dive. Didn't really get a great picture of it because it was kind of just bebopping around and wouldn't sit still for me. But it was just neat to see it. If not get a picture of it. So that's all for the underwater photos. Topside didn't disappoint either. So we were staying in this apartment kind of on top of a little mountain on the Mornington Peninsula or hill in the Mornington Peninsula. And every day we would be visited by this guy. So this is the kind of like the corner of the building, and then our deck is down below here. And he would kind of visit us every morning. I think basically he's gotten habituated to people, and people would feed him. So he wanted to see if we would give him any food every morning. This is the Australian national bird, a kookaburra. So they have a really distinctive call. Unfortunately, I don't think we caught it on a video at any point, so we can't play it for you, but you should Google it. It's really, really wild. Kind of they hear them like laughing. It's almost sounds like. And then magpies. So magpies are kind of like crows. They're a really smart bird. And this one, so this is the railing to our deck. He was very interested in our gear. Was very interested in what we were doing, and got really interested one day when we left the door open and kind of walked away for a second. And we came back, and he was like a second away from just getting into the apartment. So I'm glad we were able to get to him before he decided to come in. But he was kind of fun to hang out with for a couple days. A couple of vineyards that we visited on the Mornington Peninsula. So we did a lot of or we did a wine tour in Adelaide as well. So the Barossa, I think, is one of the largest wine regions in Australia. And that's in Adelaide. And then this region obviously was in the Mornington Peninsula. And then we visited some kangaroos. Got to pose with a koala there at one of their sanctuaries. So all of the animals that are in their quote unquote zoos are kind of more or less rescue animals. They could not survive in the wild, so they bring them to these sanctuaries and give them a good life, or rehabilitate them and stuff like that. So it's not like they go out and they capture these guys and put them in there for us to pose with. These are animals that otherwise wouldn't have been able to survive. So it's kind of cool just to see animals that are just very far into this side of the world, of the kangaroo and the koala. And I think that is, yep, that is my last slide.
Well, very, very good. That was superb. Looks like a wonderful place to go. And the diving looks, except for the long walks, looks pretty fabulous.
They're long walks, but there's no rocks to go over. So, I mean,
And so each of the piers or jetties, they have, is it a flight of stairs or like a ladder, or what is that?
yeah, most of them had like a flight of stairs. Some of them, it was a ladder, but like Amy said earlier, a lot of them were set up. I don't know if they're set up for divers, but they're set up for water access. So yeah.
Very nice. Very, very nice.
All right,
Wow.
thank you.
Does anyone have any questions? We had our Pacific night.
I have a question. So the
Hey, Greg.
primary difference between the leafy and the weedy is that the leafy has many more appendages that look like leaves as opposed to fewer appendages that are darker in contrast. Is that right?
Yeah, that's pretty much the major difference. And I should have put in a slide that had a picture of a weedy and a leafy on the same slide, so we could compare and contrast them. But yeah, that's basically the difference. Is there's much more appendages on the leafies. The leafies tend to be bigger. I think they can get up to a foot, maybe 14 inches. So they tend to be a little larger. They're typically usually yellowish green, whereas the weedies are, like you said, like a darker color, like they're brown and blackish going on there. And the weedies typically have a lot of spots on them, whereas the leafies have more stripes.
Thanks.
Yep.
But very cool animals, both of them.
Yeah, they're really neat.
I can see why that was your goal to see those two. Any other questions?
Yes, I do. I was planning to go a long time ago to Australia to take a picture of this. Do you had some specific dive shop you talked to, or you just guys found places to go diving on your own?
So for the leafies, we definitely never would have found them without the guide. So I would recommend looking him up, and we can send you his name, Peter or something. And then for the weedies in the Mornington Peninsula, they were fairly easy to find. We did go to a dive shop, and they told us kind of where to go and where to look and stuff like that. And we just followed their directions and were able to find them. We did then hook up with, like I said, a local there who just showed us around some more, but it was the weedies you could definitely find on your own, but the leafies, we would have never found them without the guide.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, well, thank you again. That was terrific. And also thanks to you, Timur. You had two wonderful presentations tonight, so it was terrific.
Thank you, Andy. It was a great place to dive.
A little colder than Australia.
Yes, but I enjoyed it.
Well, on a sad note, Matt Everett he's moving on to green pastures, so that he won't be. He may be a visiting participant in Photo Society, but he won't be at Undersea Divers, and he will not be doing the Photo Society anymore. Since this is our last meeting of the month of the year, this is his absolute last meeting. So I will definitely miss you. I'll miss all your help and the laughs, but you were terrific to work with, man. I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you. Yeah, it's been great to work with everyone. I've really enjoyed my time both with the Photo Society and Undersea Divers, but looking forward to moving in a new direction in my life and my career. I'm going to be moving down to Falmouth on the Cape to move in with my girlfriend and get back into marine science, which is what I have a degree in. So just moving on to a new phase of life. But thank you to everyone for everything I've learned over the years from Photo Society. I've greatly enjoyed working with everyone. And as Andy said, looking forward to still attending as a participant, even though I won't be hosting the meeting. So thank you.
Thank you, Matt.
Yeah, that's bad.
And so we did not schedule a third person for this part, so for this meeting, so that we could talk a little bit about what you would like next year to look like. What things, it would be helpful to be just honest. What things do you think were not good, and what things you would like to have again? I mean, we have Matt and I have talked about this, and we had a survey, I don't know, a while ago about what destinations we wanted to have. So the Philippines we did a couple of times, but then the next place that was the next most popular choice by everyone was Mexico. So we may be planning on a Mexican night. And then we were talking about having just a Cape Ann night. I know some folks don't dive here, but there's a lot of you that do. So that's something that I think would be of interest. And then the creatures that, we did the nudibranchs, which people were coming out of the woodwork to bring nudibranch pictures in, which was terrific. The next in popularity was the cephalopods, which are octopus, squid, and cuttlefish. That was the number 2 choice. So if people are interested in that, we will have a, octopus or cephalopod night. But is there anything that you would like to see repeated more often? Anything that you would not?
You're talking India as a presentations?
Oh, types of presentations. Yeah. In this past year, we did not have as many technical photo editing, because the year before, people were saying, we've had a little too much of that. So we did more on photography itself, not the post editing. And we, for a while, as a staple, we had the top 10, somebody's top 10 or favorite 10 pictures. We actually have Reg. I don't know if Reg is here tonight. No. He'll be doing one in January or February. But is that something where you pick 10 images that you like, or 10, 12, whatever? Was that, I don't know how we can get this survey. Would you want to answer on a chat, or what or raise your hand or whatever, or something, so that I know that if that's a good idea or not. So, like, say, is having people pick 10 images, 12 images they like, is that something you'd like to see more of?
Yeah, I think that would be
One,
nice.
I like
few.
that. It's a good idea.
Okay.
Yes,
And
that
what
would
about
be good.
India? Lately, because of this new options that in the Lightroom, for instance, I found that they came out with excellent new capabilities. Maybe we still should share what is the post editing is capable of.
You mean like the masking?
Masking, they came out with the blur of the lens. For instance, I found if I was able to separate main object from the background, and you apply and that mask the blur of the lens blur, the backscatter disappears. I don't know if this would be something interesting to show, to see, but I think if even the technical stuff, post-production, especially we did really long time between the presentations, maybe someone can show new stuff that is
Okay.
photography capable of. I'd like to see it.
All right.
There's
Sounds
definitely
good.
a lot of new Lightroom features. I mean, I think I did one on AI, which definitely helps with the masking aspect. And once you masked your background, you can do all kinds of stuff.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
But this new erase tool, it's amazing. Couple of nudibranchs
Smart
that
erase,
was
yeah.
in front of the nudibranch, there's a weed, and if you remove it, it actually fill up the nudibranchs, all the details. I mean, it's amazing what you can do these days.
I will admit to have used that.
Okay, that's terrific. So editing. And,
You know what? How about this? Remember, what was the one night I missed it, but I really wanted to see it. Some stuff that you take with you. People shared.
Oh, yeah.
Like I
Tips.
have a great bag. I have a great
Yeah.
charger. And so maybe a bunch of people can present very short videos or short presentations on the tips and tricks on a Lightroom, on a photography, how quickly move pictures from the hard drive to camera and so on. Share them.
okay, yeah. And that kind of thing could be, I know, Timur, you and I have talked about this, that if someone has one item, let's say for
Yeah.
to what to bring on a trip or what's helpful to whatever, something like that, to bring on a dive or whatever. You shouldn't feel compelled that you have to do a whole half-hour presentation. If you
Correct.
want to share something with other people, there'll always be room on the schedule for something like that. That would be terrific to have that kind of an environment we could just share.
Right,
we
like
know.
one night, 10 people, and each of them present, let's say 5-10 minutes, one specific item or one specific photo trick or tips how to use the program. And it's not necessarily should be Lightroom. Maybe somebody use the darkroom, and whatever he or she applies or does in one application, I'm sure we can duplicate another.
Andy,
Okay.
what about you used to do like helping people fix a photo kind of thing?
Yeah,
You know, to kind of
live. Yeah.
like just fix it, you know, maybe in Lightroom or whatever. And okay, this is what you were having and this is what you came out with. Because I think that would be helpful too. For some,
Okay. It's funny because I made a note of that before the meeting tonight. Is that kind of a thing of fixing a photo. So that's good. Yeah, either they can be photos that somebody in the past, I know Daryl has done a couple of them, I believe, where you bring in some wounded picture, a picture that needs some help, and then you see that it gets corrected. So yeah, I'll put a call out for that too. Also, if anyone has an idea of something that they would like to do, whether it's like what we just talked about, some feature or something that you find helpful, or just, you've got a bunch of pictures that you've recently taken of whatever, fish in this area, or went on a trip and you got a lot of whatever, manatees, stingrays or something. Let me know, because we're always looking for new material. So, and I think I cut you off, Timur. Were you going to say something?
No. I just thought maybe we should make one night of salsa, kind of one presents trips, very very short, presentation, like you said, picture. Another one, tips and tricks. So it's like you mixing up with the people when you gather together, and each of them can talk about something different.
Okay, that sounds real good.
As an experiment.
Okay. Yeah, we need to know a little ahead, but we can
Yes.
definitely do that.
Yeah.
Or even like a themed animal night, crabs, it could be hermit crabs,
Yeah, that's a good idea
all
too.
kinds of crabs, local.
Hermit crabs, when you don't find anything else.
They were
There's all
always a
crabs.
perfect subject.
A hermit crab in Folly Cove or in Back Beach. Yes.
Little snails.
Okay, mix. All right. So what, by the earlier survey, the survey that we had before, the next creature was going to be the squid, or who would rather do something on local crabs or any crabs for that matter, crabs, lobster? Is there a choice? Would that be more interesting than squid and octopus? No?
More crabs to be photographed than squid.
Maybe.
Oh, that's for sure.
Maybe it could be like the nudibranch night where people submit.
That's right. Yep.
Right, yeah, that's
Like
what I was
that.
thinking, but the one that was supposed to be, not supposed to be, but it was suggested to be the next one after nudibranch night was squid and octopus and cuttlefish. But
Yeah.
if there's some interest in instead on crabs from wherever, all over the world, is that what would you like
They're
to
all
see?
interesting.
Yeah,
They're all
both.
interesting, and we'll get to them. We'll get to them if it's
Okay.
not.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just trying to get something down on, but okay, we'll do
Like a theme
both.
night.
Theme night.
Squid,
Yeah.
And
crabs.
I wanted to thank you, Andy, for pulling when we did those long presentations with lots of nudibranchs or whatever, for you to pull them all together and show them as a unit as opposed to trying to go around to a lot of different people. I thought that was very effective. So thank you.
Good, thank you.
That means you get to do it again.
Yeah, I know, I realize that. Thanks, Mom.
So you can see the forceful nature of moving on for those presentations.
Yeah, because
Worked very good.
you have to with all the people because, yeah, otherwise, yeah, that's easy enough. What else we have? What else would you like to
Mentioned
see?
techniques, right? We mentioned like some, techniques and
Mhm.
tips and tricks that people use or bring on, little things that might not be a whole presentation, but just, like 5 minutes on
Okay.
little
And-
stuff like that.
Which is since we're recording every meeting, you can always go back and watch if you missed
Sure.
it. Because if each person present, I don't know, 5-10 minutes, its own technique of something, selecting photos, fixing
Right.
it.
So I'll, in a short time, I'll send out a little blurb to people and see who has 10 minutes of knowledge they want to share. So we'll do it that way. That would be good, I think. Be a great idea. Anything you would like to not do? Is there? No?
Not do? That's a
In other
good
words, prefer not to see happen again?
one. The Russia attacks Ukraine?
Joe, I could see where that would not be. Okay, so then I'll try what I have in notes here. Live creature. And so for destination, do you have any nominations for other places that you'd like? That you've been to, or a bunch of people have been? I mean, if you're the only one, then it's just your presentation. But if there's something other people have gone and would make a nice destination night, what do we
In
have?
the chat, somebody suggested Indonesia and Maldives.
Mhm. Maldives was going to be the Mexico and Maldives, but I'm just wondering if there was anything else, then I could keep that notes. of
India
that.
is, I don't, because I know, I think it's only 1 year, year and a half, I was in the Photo Society to watch the movie. Have we ever present Saguenay, Les Escomin?
Yes.
We did.
Yeah, Andrea has done Saguenay.
Well, Andrea, I remember, but what about Saguenay? Did we present Saguenay? We did.
We can do it again.
Yeah, I mean, years
You
ago.
can do it.
No, I'm just saying
No,
because
but I'm just, 'cause you have so many.
what I'm saying that you too, but maybe we can combine and other people can show some pictures if they dove in Saguenay because it's a fascinating place.
Yeah.
It's not too far.
Yeah. Okay.
Timur, you might want to present the end of the road trip.
Yeah.
That we need 3-4 hours and Matt. That's
And you too, Matt.
yes, we can do it together. There was so many stops and places to dive. That was the best trip. Yeah. Hope we can do it once more time.
All right. Well, I tell you, if you think of anything later, tomorrow, another day, if you could send that to either me or Undersea Divers, dive at Undersea Divers, and that would be good. Because any ideas, anything at all, just so that way, because it can get challenging trying to figure to get programming, because you want, I mean, people have a wide variety, we all have a wide variety of experiences, interests, equipment, and so forth. So to get something that everyone is interested in is impossible. But it's something that a lot of people would be interested in. I could use help trying to find new presentations. So that's why I keep saying, if you think of some, let me know. Right now, we're good till March, but I would love to just get as many presentations. So I
Andy?
will, huh?
Andy, I was thinking that maybe you could do a mystery photo night where you have like, especially for the macro people, a close-up of something that doesn't show the entirety of something that people here might know to be able to guess on. So, like, just part of a fin of a specific color or part of a crab, and then people can guess which crab it is from just the part of it. Or part of the wreck, a local wreck that somebody might recognize, hey, this is something that, so a mystery photo where you have a picture of something either abstract or close up and then zoom back so that they can see what the whole thing is.
Okay, so that sounds good.
Or you
Anyone
could try
else?
to stump Andy.
Hmm?
You could try to stump Andy. You just show him a picture, a portion of a fish or a nudibranch.
We had that with well, that was the whole scene, but with the Marine Life Facebook page, we had a picture there for people to try and identify. Becky, you were number one. You were the one.
That was fun. That was really fun. I like that a lot,
You identified them all. So, but yeah, that idea would be that'd be fun. Good idea, Matt. All right. Well, unless someone else has another idea, or again, send that to me. But otherwise, have a great November, December. And then we will get together without Matt, since he's jumping ship. And we'll get together in January. So again, Matt, thanks for all your help and for everything you did to make Photo Society to run smoothly. We'll
Well,
miss you.
thank you. You made it easy. So thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Matt.
Thank you, Matt. We'll miss you.
All right, guys. Thank you. And again,
Thank you,
thanks
Andy.
to
Thanks, everybody. Good night.
Thank you.
Good night.
Thanks.
Good.
Good
Thanks,
night.
bye.